I just enjoy these books so much. Book 3 is a step down from book 2, and book 2 is a step down from book 1. But book 1, the bar is so high that I'm still having a great time. And I want to love it because it is the setup that I should love, but I don't. I loved it more than I love all the other things in the world. I know I'm dramatic. It's who I am as a person. Go through a lot of emotions. Why am I reading Hunter x Hunter and Malazan at the same time? That feels like a mistake. We were just in the pool. Sorry if I'm looking a little ratchet. Also, I didn't bring my vlogging camera, so the quality of this vlog might be terrible. But I finished this a couple days ago. I just haven't had a chance to update you, and I finished this just now. So I'm gonna update you on both while dinner is in the oven. Oh my golly, okay. Where to begin with this series? I have loved it so much more than I thought I would. I have had the best time, and I am constantly, with every book, I'm surprised at how far Rick takes his characters. I said that in the last one. That's especially true in this one. And like I've said before, the first 3 books really follow a basic arc, a basic structure. So by the 3rd book, it was starting to feel a little bit stale to me. Book 4 broke that up. Book 5 threw it out the window. Obviously, this is the end. This is the big battle. This is what everything has been building up to, and I'm shocked at how satisfying it was. This series has just surprised me around every corner. So I loved it. I will be continuing on into the next series. Probably not immediately, but within the next couple of months, I'm just gonna keep going because I'm having the best time. Some spoilers, timestamps if you don't want it. But we need to do spoilers for this one. So I never, this is spoilers, timestamps. I never thought that Percy, it never crossed my mind that Percy wouldn't be who the prophecy was about. Maybe that makes me dumb, but even when Nico was introduced, it was like, no, it can't be him, it's gotta be Percy. We know Luke can't be it because he's the bad guy. And it had to be Percy. It always had to be Percy. I didn't want a Luke redemption. I didn't expect there to be a Luke redemption, and if there was going to be one, I was going to complain. But it was perfect. It was handled perfectly. Actually, the way Rick handled betrayals and characters regretting those betrayals in this book is probably my favorite thing about it. Of all the great things that happen, of all the amazing things that happened in the climax of this book, the way the characters' regrets were handled. I don't even remember her name, but the character that was a spy, and then she led a troop of people into the fight because she regretted betraying people, because she regretted betraying her fellow campers. And I think it was Clarice, when she died, not Clarice, when the girl died, and Clarice realized that she had betrayed them, but that she regretted it. Clarice immediately turned to people and she said, she died a hero. And she looked around and she was like, she died a hero, and that's it. And then a few pages later, Percy was doing something and someone confronted Percy and he was like, hey, I heard what happened to her. And Percy said, she died a hero. And the guy goes, yeah, I also heard. And Percy cuts him off and he goes, that's the whole story. And their instant forgiveness and understanding that they're just in a war, they're just in a really hard time, and still being loyal to each other even in the face of disloyalty. And the same with Luke, that as soon as he died, the moment he died, it was like, all right, let's build I don't remember the word they used, whatever word was used, let's build a thing for the son of Hermes. And it was like, he wasn't Luke, he wasn't the one that Kronos was possessing, he was the son of Hermes. And the way they chose to honor people and the way they chose to just get that they're just in a tough time, I don't know, that really hit me hard. Really, I'm just very happy the way Luke's redemption was handled. I don't even know if you could call it a redemption, but him just realizing how far he's fallen, how bad his choices have been, and you know, the one way that he can help is to stab himself so that he can also take down Kronos, because Kronos is possessing his body. It's like, I just never expected that would be what the prophecy would be. And I'm just, it was such an intense book. It was amazing. My thoughts, I read it a couple days ago. My thoughts still aren't together. Sorry about that. I also read Hitchhikers book 3. I plan to just like piddle through it because I'm really struggling with the other fantasy book that I'm reading. So I thought I'll just pick up something that I know I'm gonna enjoy. I'll read it really slowly. I read it so fast. I just enjoy these books so much. Book 3 is a step down from book 2, and book 2 is a step down from book 1. But book 1, the bar is so high that I'm still having a great time. It doesn't matter that we keep taking steps down, I'm still having the best time. So this book, book 3, so book 1 was Arthur was trying to defend his house from being demolished to make room for a highway, but then right before that happened, the earth got destroyed to make room for an intergalactic highway, and Arthur was able to escape with his friend Ford. Book 2, they go to a restaurant at the end of the universe, which is a time. They go to the time where the universe ends so that they can watch the universe end as a dinner play as they eat, and then they'll just go back in time to wherever they're from, but they missed. They ended in prehistoric Earth. Now they're back again. This book, they land home, and Arthur's so happy. I'm home. It's England. It's today. The nightmare is over. He opened his eyes again and smiled serenely. I'm where I belong, he said in an emotional whisper. There are 2 things I feel I should tell you, said Ford, tossing a copy of The Guardian over the table at him. I'm home, said Arthur. Yes, said Ford. One is, he said, pointing at the date at the top of the paper, that Earth will be demolished in 2 days' time. So Arthur's so happy to be home, but they're at the point still, the Earth is still about to be destroyed. They're just at the point where it's right before the Earth is going to be destroyed again. Then they realize that there's this terrible thing going to happen, and they have to go. You really don't need the plot of these books. But another great scene was when they're trying to decide where they're gonna go, and Ford is staunchly not interested in saving the world, and so he's like, let's just find a really fun place to go. Let's look at the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book, and specifically hone in on drugs, sex, and rock and roll, and figure out something fun there. There's also this really funny scene. I'm telling you out of context stuff. Well, before that I was telling you it's a basic like plot setup. They need to go save the universe because of this, what did he call it? To confront an ancient nightmare of the universe. That's the goal of this book, to go confront an ancient nightmare of the universe. But there's this other really funny scene with Marvin, who's in the first book, and he's the best ever, where he meets a being in space and says, I'm 5 billion times smarter than you, which is how he introduces himself to us in book 1 as well. And the being goes, really? And he goes, yes, let me prove it to you. Pick a number between 1 and 1 billion. And the other being says 5, and Marvin goes, wrong. And that's how he proves that he's 5 billion times. It's the best. It's just, so the thing is, this book isn't as good. It still has a very loose plot, a very, very, very thin thread that we're following, and it's mostly just nonsense and jokes, and it's not the same. It's impossible to match what Hitchhikers did. And going into the sequels knowing you can't match that, so it will not be as good, but it's going to be similar and it's still going to be fun, is kind of the vibe that I've hit, and I'm happy there. I feel very content here. So bring on book 4. That's my thoughts. Also, we're in the mountains. We're in Tennessee. We decided to have a mountain trip. We're in the cabin. I mean, it wasn't a whim. We planned this. We got a cabin in the mountains. So that's where we are. That's why what's behind me is better than usual. I am almost done with Son of Storm. I only have, I think, like 75 pages left, but I haven't touched it in days because I'm really struggling with it. So this is kind of this setup of I have a place in the world, and then I learn that what is beyond my borders is not what I've been told my whole life. There are lies out here, and now I want to go see what's been kept from me. This kind of basic concept for fantasy is kind of like a recipe for me to do well. I love this setup, and there's more going on than just this. There's other perspectives we're following, but that is the main perspective, and that is what enticed me so much about this book, and I was so sure I was gonna love it. I had no doubt in my mind, and I just don't. It's partially the writing and it's partially the characters. It's very narrative heavy. Anytime we're introduced to someone, rather than just having dialogue and naturally getting to know them and naturally learning about the structures and the politics and what's going on in the world through experiencing the world, it's very much like this person enters the room. This person is this title, which puts them in this place of the cast, and it's related to this thing, and it's like this really, really complex social and political structure. The world is the structure of the world is it's a big web, and it's very just like, let me tell you what place everybody has in this society, and just like take a lot of notes. And that's just, it's not me. It's not how I read. It's not how I enjoy stories. And there's just not enough experiencing things, and there's too much. It's very narrative heavy. There's just a lot of the narrator, the narrative voice telling me things. But that's one of my main problems. The second problem I have is that these characters are not making choices based off of what I think, anything that makes sense. It's these grand leaps or these choices that it just feels like they're making choices because the story wants them to. Like Donzo learns that this person exists that shouldn't exist, and so from there he says, well, that must mean that this other thing that I don't think exists, it definitely doesn't exist because she exists, which the logic isn't there. But then also her, as soon as they leave the walls, she instantly just starts telling him all about her people and their history and their beliefs, and Donzo makes a comment and she says, oh, I would be killed for telling you this. If they found out that I told you this stuff, instant execution. Anyway, I'm gonna keep telling you all these things, and like she never gives a reason for just telling him things that she doesn't even know him. And the same thing too, it's like we keep getting information in these ways that just doesn't feel natural, and then as soon as we get that information, we immediately need it, and it just nothing feels. I'm just struggling with this book, and I want to love it because it is the setup that I should love, but I don't. So that's unfortunate. I will finish it, but I just don't see myself having positive thoughts in the end, even if it's an amazing ending, just because it's just not been the book for me. However, I have started my reread of Little Women. So I watched the adaptation, the 2019, the one with Emma Watson, and I loved it more than I love all the other things in the world. I know I'm dramatic. It's who I am as a person. I loved it so much, and I want to watch it forever, all the time. I love it. So I'm reading it. And I watched the movie. It was really, really good. And now I'm rereading the book. And I'm having such a wonderful time. This book is so charming. It is so full of so much charm. And the characters are so beautiful and just trying their best and flawed, but their family relationship is so gorgeous. Oh my golly. And their mom, she's doing her darndest, and she's trying so hard with missing her husband and with the war that's going on and everything. And I feel for her, how much she puts on her daughters of her own need to serve the community and to just do what she can to make the world better while her husband is suffering and doing so much to try to make the world better, and she just wants to make her little corner better every way she can. And then she kind of puts that burden on her daughters, but they take it on with their whole hearts, despite also just, you know, being kids and wanting luxuries of life. And then, I'm so happy reading this again. I'm so happy reading this again. So anyway, I just met Lori in the book, and I love it. I'm so happy to be reading this, and I'm gonna watch the movie again, and I'm gonna make a video about it. And probably no one will watch the video, but I'm gonna make it because I love this story. So that's where I am. I also started Malazan book 3. I haven't even finished the prologue yet, and I'll talk to you about it in the next clip. Malazan it's so much, but I enjoy it. It's a lot of work, but I enjoy it. Anyway, we're leaving here tomorrow, so the next clip, I mean, you can't see anything behind me anyway, so it doesn't matter, but the next clip will be back home. So we've had a lovely time. It's been really, really nice. That's the books. Okay, bye. Okay, we are back from the mountains. We only spent, it was just a 3-day trip, 3 full days, where we got a cabin and did hiking and stuff and had a blast. I unfortunately forgot to, or not forgot, I did. I packed my manga and I packed the wrong manga. I packed the wrong volumes. So I only finished 1 volume of Hunter x Hunter this week, and then the other volumes, I would have had to read it out of order. I'm sorry, I failed you. But before we get into that, I did finish Son of Storm. So I'm gonna try to do a better job of describing it and explaining my thoughts on it now that I'm done with it. So the setup of this is this is a world where there are a lot of societal workings. There's a lot of societal dynamics. So you have the mainland, you have the outer lands, is that what it was called? And then you have the desert lands. And the caste system is based on skin color, and the darker skin you are, the closer you are to the mainlands, and then the lighter your skin color, the like further out in the caste system you are. And Danzo is there are 3 main perspectives that we follow. Danzo is, I would say, our main perspective. He's a low brown, so he's of a lower caste, but he is he's betrothed to another one of our perspectives, and he's kind of, even though he's in a higher position, but he'll always be viewed as an outsider for where he is. The societal structure of this novel is very complex. There's so much going on with it, as well as just the inner workings, the political maneuverings, everybody's individual ranking and caste and role that they play. It's all very interwoven. And I think one of the biggest issues I had with the book is how info dumpy it is, which I think info dump is something that I'm comfortable with, reading as much fantasy as I do. I'm really accustomed to the dreaded info dump, and I'm fine with it, unless it's like exhaustive. And I do think that it was pretty exhaustive, especially in the first chunk of this book. There was just so much information being thrown at us without really much else to give us to keep us interested, and it was such a complex societal structure that it's like I felt like I was just memorizing a bunch of facts instead of reading an interesting story, which was just a turn off out the gate. And then with the characters, like I mentioned before, just making a lot of decisions that I felt just seemed, it just seemed like a lot of characters would deliver information in a way, and it didn't make sense. Why are you trusting this person with information that would get you killed, or that would put your people in danger, or, you know, why are you making these leaps of logic? And it was just because the reader needed this information for what was about to happen in the plot. And thankfully, now that we have this information that was delivered in a way that wasn't very believable, now when this thing that literally immediately thereafter happens, we have some understanding of the thing. And I just really struggled with that. So there are three main perspectives. There's Danzo, who I've already mentioned. He's on the cover of the book, and he is a scholar who has a lot of questions that he shouldn't. He's more curious than he's allowed to be. And then the inciting incident is that one of our other main perspectives, she is of a race that is believed to be no more, to be extinct, or to have never happened. And then there's this assassination, and she's there at the time, and it's believed that it's her, but Danzo ends up helping her, which would reasonably get him, not reasonably, but within their societal beliefs, get him killed for helping her instead of turning her in. Her name is Malazan, and she's one of the main perspectives as well. And she's one of the people that I felt a lot of times, her and other and more of her people, I felt just kept delivering information in a way that just, I didn't believe you, and the reasons they were delivering the information that they were giving. But putting that aside, I think her perspective was one of the most interesting ones to me. And then there's also Asheme, who is, at the beginning of the book, she's Danzo's betrothed, but it's a betrothal of, it's not a love thing, it's a strategical thing. And her mom is, oh my goodness, she makes things happen. She is a very important person and very cunning and wise, and Asheme likes to think that she is too. She has a lot of power, and she's trying to gain more power, and she's trying to maintain her power, and she thinks that she's capable in the position that she's in, but she's not quite as mature as she thinks she is in her abilities. As far as all the world building that we get, I mean, it's truly down to the different types of housing, down to the different types of clothes that they wear, and it all matters and it all means something. And if you're into that kind of extremely meticulous world building, it's all here, and I do think that it's woven together well. I also think that this ancient forbidden magic, which is in this book, that we get to be introduced to, some of it is elemental, some of it is involving light, some of it is mysterious, and we don't know until now what this type of magic does, I think was probably my favorite part of the story. I really like ancient forbidden magic. That's a great trope, and the magic it was very visual, and every time we got to interact with it, I was excited, and I think that's probably the best part of the book for me. This is one of those books where I think that when I talk about it, or when I try to describe it, or think about, you know, what the general setup of it is, it sounds so interesting, and I desperately want to love it, but I just didn't. I love the ideas here, but in reading it, I just felt like the characters' decisions didn't always make sense. The world building it was a lot of information. It was a lot of telling instead of showing. And even the prose, I didn't even like the prose. There was a lot of stuff, I wrote some stuff down. There was stuff like, she smiled performatively. Like, instead of describing the smile, it's just telling you, like, this is the type of smile it is. But there was also a lot with the prose. There was a lot of contradictions, like she watched him leave, unfazed but angered. Which one? Unfazed or angered? Which one? A drop of wonder had landed on his tongue, and Danzo knew that henceforth his thirst would be insatiable. Whether his da and uncles were willing to acknowledge the thirst or not, it existed, and he was going to quench it somehow. Is it insatiable, or will he quench it? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's insatiable or if he's gonna quench it. It literally doesn't matter. But because this happened a lot in the prose, where something would be presented and then immediately contradicted, it was like, it bothered me. It bothered me, and I kept getting hung up on it, where it was like, but which one? Pick one, pick one. I don't know, I'm tired. I don't think I'm articulating myself well at all. Great concept. I could not get into it. I'm still reading Little Women. I haven't made much more progress because I was prioritizing finishing out Son of Storm, but I'm still loving it. I think having watched the movie only makes the book better. I love it. And I've started Malazan book 3. I'm only on chapter 2, so I can't really talk to you about it. I'll talk to you more next week in the next vlog, but I can say that this series is the most challenging series I've ever read. I just talked about this on the Discord, which is why I'm saying it here and now, but it's the most challenging series I've ever read, both in the fact that I just don't always know what's going on. There's so many things happening that I just, sometimes there's these big events and I'm like, what just happened? And it's constantly stretching my brain and making me want to talk to other people about it and see if there's more understanding out there, because it's just so complex and there's so much going on with it. But at the same time, these are some of the most real characters I've ever read, and it's invoking some of the most intense emotions out of me. And even though this is such a challenging story to read, like, it really challenges me. And even though that's true, I feel so happy to be back in it, because even though I'm excited to be back, I don't know, I just got interrupted, so I don't know what I was saying. I don't know what's going on, but I'm really happy to be hanging out with characters that I have dearly missed. Oh, right, so this is like an interlude is what it feels like to me. That's what I've been calling it, where we get to hang out with the Phantom Troop. Hang on. We're just chilling with them. They're like, hey, Chimera Ants, cool. There's a queen over here. Let's go fight her and, you know, kill her. And it was really fun to see the Phantom Troop again and to hang out with them. I mean, honestly, I don't know if this is gonna serve the plot or if it's literally the biggest side tangent ever, and I don't care, because I'm happy to hang with them. I'm happy to see their abilities more. I'm happy to see their chemistry more. I'm happy to see Killua's sibling doing more with them. And it's also really cool to see the Chimera Ants who have just wiped the floor with us, essentially, and proven to be a very terrifying foe. It's cool to see the Phantom Troop just walk in and take down a queen. Not the queen, she's already gone, and not the king, so granted, you know, smaller fish to fry, but still someone who is important enough and powerful enough to have gained a following as they've decided to go about and make kings and queens of themselves. She's done that, and she was defeated by the Phantom Troop without any casualties, so, I mean, on their part. So, yeah, I don't know, it was cool, it was cool. Also, I'm really terrified for Gon and Killua, as Killua's going around trying to warn people and trying to get ahead of the Chimera Ant plot to, like, I don't know, wipe everybody out, make a bunch of soldiers out of the people. And Pichu knows that Killua is doing this, and Gon and Killua are separated, and Gon's being hunted, and I just don't know. I just expect to go through a lot of emotions. Why am I reading Hunter x Hunter and Malazan at the same time? That feels like a mistake. Well, it's been decided. I'm only half done with the next Spy Family volume, so I'll talk to you about that one next week when I finish it. Sorry I'm so tired of this last clip. Hopefully I was halfway understandable. But this is what I've been reading this week, and it's been a good time. I've talked a lot, so I'm done now. See you next Thursday.